Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 1035. Directed by Sho Inuzuka from Yutaka Nakashima's board and supervised by Masahiro Shimanuki. 1024 wasn't an utterly amazing episode, but I liked it a fair bit due to Inuzuka's handling of Nakashima's subdued board. And because of that, I'm pretty excited to see if the same exact staff as that episode can pull it off again here. As we reach one of the more impactful moments of the post-Luffy first defeat and before Topiropo fights era, that looks to be hammered home by the inclusion of Naoto Shishida doing the major scene within it. So will episode 1035 bring forth that sense of despair that it should hammer home? Let's get ready for the bonk and find out. This episode covers the remainder of chapter 1014, and I'm very grateful that they decided to add more filler scenes for stuff like Chopper vs. Queen once again, to, like last week, help it feel much more impactful for Chopper as a character, especially when Luffy's loss is announced to the castle, along with some usual filling in of the blanks with stuff like Kid and Kiku getting up to the crawl space in the first place, which helps make the moments that we're all supposed to feel for later on in the episode become more impactful. However, while I do indeed think that they managed to pull it off rather well for a clearly not prioritized episode, with Inuzuka and the music selection team choosing some really fitting tracks to sell the mood for a lot of scenes, I feel like there's some extra layer of oomph that feels missing here to really try and make Luffy's loss feel much more despair-filled than it seems on the surface. And while it could totally come off as a nitpick since it totally is, it's probably more of an issue with the manga itself since the entire scene is laid out on one of Oda's biggest and busiest spreads imaginable, so it doesn't lend itself extremely well to adaptation when it's one-to-one. But it still did leave me wanting a bit more from this big moment in an episode that I generally did feel positive on regardless of that, and maybe despite the length of the Kanjuro flashback as well. Nakashima's boards are rather standard despite some bits he sprinkles in here and there, which certainly speaks to his overall speed as a storyboard artist. But once in a while you'll see him tackle content that he very much so feels strongly on, and in turn you see him try some really cool stuff that feels super duper inspired, like here. As he continues Koyama's idea of having Kanjuro's evil being portrayed like a kabuki performance from 994, once both him and Kin duke it out upon the supposed death of Kiku. That while obviously not being as strong as Koyama's ideas, does do some neat stuff with the scene that I wasn't expecting. And Inuzuka thankfully manages to execute it as perfectly as possible as well. However, I'd say that I'm overall not really a fan of how the storyboard for Naoto Shishida's scene turned out, because while it feels cool in the first few cuts as Kaido and Kin stand in front of one another, the back and forth cuts kinda kill the impact a little bit for me, especially so when it's not directly shown to us either, which could mean that Shida stuck with Nakashima's board rather than doing his own usual shtick of changing it to suit his own ideas, but I digress. It's still stuff that bugged me, and I feel like it's better to admit that rather than to try and sugarcoat it regardless of my feelings on the rest of it all. Perhaps it doesn't matter because in the end, manga spoilers everyone, they're both not dead, but that's how I felt overall on episode 1035. Next week we'll be getting another one of the every 2 months recap episodes so the production can sustain itself, so we won't be seeing what comes next after this for a couple of weeks. But I'm very interested and eager to see what the episodes that are happening while Luffy's out for the count have in store. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and it's actually kinda nice hearing Caesar again, not gonna lie.